What's going on, everyone? Nemi here once again, and we are back in Sword of Convallaria with another fun, enjoyable weapon clear team, this time for Weapon Trial 1. I'm going to give you a rundown of the team we used. For this clear, the team was Recruited Assassin, K.A Light Conjurer, Outlaw Crossbowman, K.A Archer, and my new favorite unit, K.A Fire Conjurer. Let's go have a look. For most of this run, you're going to be using the Flag of Convallaria, and you might have to use the Warhorn on the final turn just to get some more DPS. Before we get into the first turn, I want to talk about positioning. For this trial, positioning is super important with my team because the K.A Fire Conjurer must always be within 2 allies so that she gets her trait skill active. I'm going to start off, we're going to run up ahead with the Recruited Assassin. Now, in case people don't know, most people were using Blade here. The Recruited Assassin actually has the same skill, and you can double stack his dodge in the same way that Blade was doing as well. The only reason people preferred Blade was he just had a higher magic defense stat, so he was able to more easily survive earlier on. Once again, we're going to watch the replay. I will stop it at any point just to help you guys out. Let's talk about Fire Conjurer's role for the first 2 rounds, as it is quite important. For both round 1 and 2, she's going to hit this rock just to kill it. This is going to open up our Flag of Convallaria to be placed down here, which also is going to allow us to easily access the double ally close to her so that she gets activation of her trait. She always needs to have 2 allies within 2 tiles of her, so that she gets her increased damage output. This is super important for this run, otherwise you will most likely not get enough damage. Let's continue. So as you will notice, on the next turn when the Fire Conjurer moves down to this tile here, she has 2 allies near her, which will activate her trait, which increases her damage output. The other thing you may have noticed is the Recruited Assassin used Fleet Footwork right here. He's going to double stack this, so on the next turn, he is going to run to the opposite side where the boss is, and he's going to use it 1 more time. This will give him 4 stacks of dodge. Now, unfortunately, you can't dodge the AoE, so we will always take that hit, but we can definitely dodge the 3-hit attack that comes after. Honestly, this is pretty much the strategy for the rest of the cycle. You're going to run him over into this corner, you're going to make sure that she has 2 allies next to her, and everyone else is going to do their role. Just keep in mind, the Light Conjurer really will have to filter through and see how many stacks of Stigmata each one of these units has, just to make sure that you're using her instant dispel on that unit to ensure they don't fall lower HP than Blade. Blade must always stay the lowest HP so that the AoE skill will always target him. We'll only be stopping the replay 1 more time. Make sure you pay attention to the positioning, as that is the most important thing for this clear. Let's go. we're going to stop the video one last time right here, just to look at the boss's HP. Now, we are going to have to use Warhorn on round 15, just to ensure that we can clear off this boss. My team has a lot of ways to improve its actual damage output. If people build the team a bit more efficiently than mine, they should easily clear this. However, just keep in mind, you can definitely Warhorn on the last round, just to make sure you get the clear. Okay, first off, let's talk about the K.A Fire Conjurer. We had her at level 48, she was at rank 9. For her gear, she had the Starry Sky Heritage, the Origin Hourglass, and the Rays of the Sun. For this weapon trial in particular, I feel like Rays is the best tarot to use. Pretty much only looking for magic attack on this one, as she doesn't really need any defensive stats. We're going to talk about the engravings later, as these engravings pretty much did nothing in the whole fight, as they were always harmed during the whole battle. The only thing she actually gained was the 6% from the engraving substat. After the equipment section, I'm going to go through improvements you can make to the team. In most cases, this is just going to be focusing on the correct engravings to increase your damage output. The skills we had for this run were Defender, Fireball, Inspiration of Comrades, and the Battle Flag of Iria. The newcomer to the team is the K.A Archer. She is also part of the Iria faction, so she does gain the aura from the Fire Conjurer. We had her at level 48, she was at rank 9. For the K.A Archer's gear, we were using the Star Raid crossbow. In all honesty, you could probably use the Steel crossbow, or the Meteor line as well. Most of these will work. I was just using this one as it does have a slightly higher damage output due to the piercing damage, and it also helped increase her crit rate. Before we go into her gear, I want to talk about her trait. So at the start of the turn, if there are no enemies within a 2-tile radius around the character, the crit increases by 30% and the physical attack increases by 8%. This is pretty much always going to be active, as her minimum range is 3 and she can go up to 5 on some of her skills. So her trait gives us 30% crit. Also, her passive skill Durana will also give us another 30 crit. The True Lens, which everyone has, will also give us 12 crit from Highland. Now, she has a skill that puts her in Highland. So straight off the bat, we already have 60 plus 12, 72% crit. This weapon will also give her another 8%. We're sitting at 80% crit just straight away, which is really fantastic. Then I decided to chuck on the Verdict of Justice, which gave her another 15% crit, which put her at 95. Now, I'm not too sure if this is going to give her more damage output, or if it's better off just sticking with the Rays of the Sun one, which the other two are using. I might test this out later in the future, but for now, I do recommend everyone to use her Verdict of Justice. So let's quickly go through the gear. She was using the Star Raid crossbow, she was using the True Lens, she was using the Verdict of Justice tarot, with a focus on physical attack. Once again, this boss does mostly dot damage, so you don't really need to look for any defensive stats. For her skills, she had her basic attack, she had the defense AoE, she had the cloud piercing arrow, she had Durana, which gave her the crit, and she also had Eagle Eye. The combination of all of these things made her a really strong character for this trial. As you can see from the engravings, the resonance doesn't really do anything for this weapon trial, however the physical attack was quite nice. Once again, we ended up using the K.A Light Conjurer. They were at level 47, rank 8. For gear, they had the Reorganized Cube, they had the Crystal Burst Armor, and for the tarot, very important, they must use the Elegance of the Empress. For skills, we had her basic attack, we had Endure, we had the healing spell, we had Light of Purification, and we had Purify. For this weapon trial, Light Conjurer's engravings don't really matter, so you might as well just keep whatever you have. For those of you who weren't able to get Blade, you can also use the Recruited Assassin as the same thing. He was at level 48, rank 9 from my clear. For gear, we actually had a level 30 Dueling Dagger, which does absolutely nothing. We had the Rejection Mask. This is pretty much key. You will need to level up a Rejection Mask for him. And we used the Silence of the Hermit Tarot to decrease some of the damage as well. We weren't able to roll any with magic defense in the substats, so we ended up going with the triple HP. I don't really know if he needed the resonance skill from Engravings, as he was mostly surviving throughout the whole clear. However, if you're struggling to keep him alive, I do recommend getting the resonance just to decrease the magical damage taken. For skills, we had his basic attack, we had the defense physical skill, which does nothing. We had the Lone Ranger, which is quite useful as it does increase our defense by 8% when he runs up to the front. We also had the fancy footwork. Without this skill, this tactic would not be possible. And finally, we had ambush, which also serves no function. The last character we had was the Outlaw Crossbowman. He was at level 48, rank 8. For gear, we used the Whale Hunter. This is a huge increase in damage, so if you do have one, I do recommend using it. We also used the Coexist Armor, as well as the Rays of the Sun Tarot, just to increase our damage output. For his Tarot, you are mostly looking for physical attack. For skills, we had the basic attack, we had weak spot protection, melee archer, armor eroder, which was very important as this gave us both physical defense and magical defense down, as well as the infected arrowhead to ensure we got some infection stacks for more DPS. Let's talk about some improvements that you can make to the team. The first thing is, survivability is not an issue with this team except for on the recruited assassin. Every other character can then focus on damage. So what damage engravings and resonances can we use? So out of all the resonances, there is only two that we could potentially use. We could use the Wand and Wand, or we could also use the Sword and Cup. The Wand and Wand is more of an RNG as you're rolling for a crit or an attack buff, but the Sword and Cup will automatically give you an increase in damage by 5% as well as some lifesteal. I think the Sword and Cup is the best resonance for your damage dealers for this trial. You'll notice that my units didn't really move around too much, so I don't recommend the Sword and Wand. One other thing you could do to increase your damage output is level up some of these evergreen pendants to either level 30 or 40, and this will also give you another roll at the buffs. I personally prefer using my legendary gear at level 50, however you could try this out if you really want to. You can check my talents in the Weapon Trial 3 video as they haven't actually changed. However, if you want more damage, you should probably upgrade either the Destroyer path or the Watcher's path physical and magical damage trees. Once again, I had so much fun making this team. There's honestly so many other comps out there that people could potentially make, so just keep that in mind. If you enjoyed the video, remember to give a like and subscribe down below. That's going to be all for this one, guys. Peace out.